Hello there, my name's Danny Wilson. I'm the co-founder and strength conditioning coach at Boxing Science. I'm going to show you 3 lower body power exercises that can really power up your punch. These lower body exercises are called accentuated jumps. I'm going to explain the reasons why we use these jumps, and then we're going to go into 3 different examples. So the reason why we use these jumps is because in our testing we test a squat jump and a counter movement jump. And what we found is a low difference between the squat jump and counter movement jump, which suggests that boxers have low eccentric utilization, so they're not able to absorb that force coming down, dipping into the jump. Now the reason why is because boxers aren't really exposed to maximum strength work at an early age, and as well a lot of coaches see the punch being explosive movement, so they do predominantly concentric exercises. When we're in the strength conditioning gym, we could look to improve eccentric strength through using like heavy squats or eccentric lifts. However, this can be quite problematic in a boxing camp because the eccentric strength work can leave an athlete sore, and then this will affect their boxing and their conditioning performance. But also, if you put into consideration where a boxer is looking to make weight, they're going to be in a calorie deficit, which can make an athlete really sore. So what we do at Boxing Science, we really look at improving eccentric utilization through the use of plyometrics. The reason why we use plyometrics is because this is a great way to teach our athletes how to absorb force and reproduce force through the stretch shortening cycle. We look to try and get them to improve their eccentric utilization first by learning how to land properly. So we use jumps such as like altitude landings and start breaking the movement down. But when our athlete becomes more advanced, we look to ways where we can increase the eccentric demand. And this is where accentuated jumps comes in. So accentuated jumps is where we increase the eccentric demand on a jump by using either weights or jumping from a height or using some bands as well. And what this does increases that eccentric demand, which will make our stretch shortening cycle more effective. This means that when we're throwing a punch, we're dipping down into the shot, throwing combinations, we're going to be able to produce a lot of force in a short amount of time. So the first jump that we're going to look at is the depth jump, or we call it the falling counter movement jump. Okay, the first exercise that we're going to do is a falling counter movement jump, or as a lot of S&C coaches call it, the depth jump. Now we're going to use a box. I'd say to use a box around about 30 centimeters, so this box here, especially when you're working with athletes that are doing this for the first time. This is probably the first go-to exercises to try and do this accentuated jumps before we move on to dumbbells or bands. All I'm going to do is going to step onto the box. I'm going to take one foot out, I'm going to land with my feet hip width apart, and then I'm going to dip down and drive up as fast as I can. Okay, so you notice I'm taking my time to dip my hips and knees, and then I'm forcefully driving up. Again, that rapid hip extension, keeping the body nice and upright. Now, you don't want to be caught in no man's land. What I mean by that is losing that energy between the jumps by sticking it for a little bit too long. As well, this is not a short stretch shortening cycle exercise where we look to try and dip and try and tap on the floor as quick as we can. You want to dip, get into that half squat position, and then drive it up, squeeze them glutes, firing those hips. So I do around about 5 reps of these, 3 sets, add them on to the end of your warm up. Now I'm going to move on to dumbbell accentuated jumps. Okay, so the next exercise, we're going to use dumbbells. Now, I'd use around about 5 kilos up to 12.5 kilos. You don't want to go too heavy with these because you don't want to create too much eccentric demand for athletes to cope with, because we're not very strong in that department anyway. If you overload that, you won't get a fast and powerful movement coming out of the bottom. So I've got 7.5s here. I'll just give you a demonstration. Okay, so notice I'm dipping down, but I'm going quite slow, a lot slower than I would do on the falling counter movement jump. Now the reason why is because we have got this weight here, and I want to be able to create that eccentric demand as I'm going down. If I'm just dipping down and dropping the weights, it's a little bit of a waste of time. We want to make sure that we're controlling it down, a little bit eccentric stress, and then drive out at bottom. As well, you don't want to be throwing your dumbbells down or releasing them too early. I see a lot of people, when they come down, dropping them straight away. You want to at least get down to the bottom first, release, and then use that energy to catapult up. You need to make sure that you're popping them dumbbells right out to the side. You don't want to get injured whilst doing this. If you're having it too close, dumbbells can roll underneath you, and that ain't going to be good for your ankles. Okay? It is a safe exercise as long as it's executed properly. Also, if you've got a coach with you, it's much better to do because they'll be able to pass the weight. I do either 3 to 5 reps of these, again, as an extended warm-up, or during speed strength blocks, use this as a main exercise. So this third and final exercise that I'm going to show you today on accentuated jumps is the banded variation. Now, the two that I've shown you relies on force and speed. This one increases force, increases the speed demand as well. So what I've got here is 2 of these purple bands. Got it quite slack at the moment, but you can either make it a little bit looser or you can make it a little bit tighter depending on the strength of your athlete. Use heavy dumbbells. I've got 35 kilos here. Just make sure that the dumbbells don't move as you're jumping up. So I'll show you a quick example. Okay, so on that first jump, it wasn't particularly hard for me to drive it up. So that's why I'm saying that the bands were a little bit slack. But as I'm getting to the top, that the band is kind of rebounding for me to come back down at a faster rate. So this is where the accentuation comes in terms of these jumps. Now to make it a little bit harder, which I'll show you now, you just try and get the dumbbells lined up to create a little bit more tightness through the bands. Okay, so you can see there the dumbbells spreading out the band a little bit more to make it a little bit tighter. So you're actually getting a bit of an adaptation from that first jump. As you go through these jumps, I'd say use this as your final one because it is a little bit difficult, and start off with the bands pretty tight, because as you come down, seeing this tighter variation, as I'm jumping up a little bit higher, when I'm coming down and it's going quite fast down, it's going to be hard for me to control. So do use slack, or if you are wanting it a little bit tighter, just go for a squat first rather than jump. So you squat and then drop down. And that's encouraging that pre-counter movement, that hip extension, going into that preceding jump. That jump there as well, that first one with the bands, you're actually working 2 adaptations. On the first one, it's accommodating resistance. This will increase your length-tension relationship, help you drive through the shots. This is something that I'll cover in a few videos' time. To make sure that you don't miss that video, please subscribe to our channel, Boxing Science. We'll be providing you with more workouts coming soon.